Hello, St. Thomas Academy, and welcome to the Cadet Football Show. I'm your host, Mike Maxwell, and to my left is our head football coach, Travis Walch. Welcome back to the show, Coach.
Thank you.
So, Coach, we're about a week and a half removed from the state championship game, an overtime loss to the number one rated Chanhassen Storm. Final score 34-31. Give us your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, it's there's just kind of divide in your mind. You know, part of what a head coach does is he looks at it from a fan perspective or a parent perspective or a person that just really loves these kids. And you're happy and you're proud. Yeah. And then the other side of it is you look at it as a coach, and you have to be able to separate those two things. You can't just be a fan of the kids that you coach. You've got to be able to look at it from a coach's perspective and say, yes, but there was also an opportunity lost. And I got to live in both of those worlds. I think they're both healthy worlds to live in. I don't think you can just live in one. I've been with guys in the past that can only live in what we lost or what opportunity we lost and don't see the other side of it. I was just, I'd mentioned this to more than one alum throughout the last couple of weeks. I was just so proud of the way that our four representatives to the media handled themselves. And it really at times felt like a celebration of the season instead of a state championship loss. And I had a media member come up to me and say, we've never had kids walk in here like that. And you know, we've talked a lot about response and how are we going to handle things when they don't go well? And if there's one thing that I've heard, not just from you, but most of the community is, man, this team was resilient. And I think that was on stage for the media was, we lost the state championship, but we can also take the good things away from this.
For sure. Well, and I would add on to that. That's how we train them, right? I mean, you know, as a school, not just
Correct.
As a football program,
Correct.
but that's how we train them. So I think that's that's a great thing to put on display for the broader community.
And it's a big reason why when people said, why was this job attractive? It's like you guys have there's an education within the education, right? And it builds in. It really matches up and pairs up well with what we need out of a football program.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you, as you know, I was out of the country during the game watching it. 2:30 in the morning. I'm watching a finish to a wild football game, and as an alum, as somebody who has been a coach and now a small part of our football program,
big part
in this show, I was super proud of the way we played, and just a lot of pride in what we do here, not only in the football program but as a school. So I think that was awesome. So let's just go through the game a little bit. I think it's worthy of talking about. So you start the game with the ball. You drive pretty effectively down the field, 15-play drive. You stall out on the 5-yard line, and you go for the field goal. Hits the left post. Was that ball tipped, or what happened there?
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Okay.
And one thing I was able to do is able to connect with Declan. It's what you have to do afterwards. Declan Wilson is our kicker, and I connected with him afterwards. And I said, "What do you think happened there?" And he just said, "I felt like I rushed it, and nerves are high, anxiety is high." And I think what's really good is when you can have that conversation, and he doesn't go, "Well, it was a bad snap." He just said, "I think I rushed it," and that's what happens when you're a kicker and you rush. You tend to pull it. Yep. And it's just really good, honest feedback to get, because then you realize, all right, snap was pretty good, hold was there.
Yep.
I mean, what a beautiful thing. And we talked to our kids a lot this year about, listen, we're going to see things on film, but it's really nice when you can just get us that information instead of us having to figure it out. So that was really good. The other sidetrack to that whole thing, and I don't know who could see what if you're watching it from another country, but we were actually called for a penalty, a delay of the game, right as that play was happening. Right. And I watched it again even last night. Like, I felt like the clock hit 0. They either didn't see it right away or whatever, and then they blow it dead about 3 seconds after it hit 0. No, it's our fault we didn't get it off. Right? I'll make that very clear. Yeah. But then the play goes on another 3 seconds. We end up showing a fake, and now you can't run it on the next play. And we would have absolutely run it, whether it was 4th and goal from the 6 or 4th and goal from the 11. it was kind of a missed opportunity early, and we knew we had the fake that we wanted. We felt like it was going to get us into the end zone. So that was part of it. But make no mistake, that's our issue more than anything. First is get it out there, get the call in, execute it, and it's something that we would have loved to have back.
Yeah, for sure. So you turn the ball over, obviously. So and then 2 plays later, Maxwell Woods scores on a 76-yard run. Was it a little deflating to have this great drive, end up with 0 points, and then 2 plays later you're down 7-0?
I wouldn't say deflating, because we get the opportunity to watch this stuff on film on the sideline. So it happens, and then we grab our little iPad and we go through it. Right. And when you look at what happened, you're going, wow, we had 3 guys at the point of attack. I don't know if you could have called a better defense for what we were going to see. On the other side of it, you're saying, wow, that's what we thought we were getting, and man, he did it right away. But on the other side of it, when you can look at it and go, listen, we're in the right spot. I reflected instantly to our Cretan game, and I thought, this is kind of the opposite of what we just went through. Cretan drove down the field, 21 play drive. They ended up making the field goal. And then I'm sitting there as a coach going, but what I have to take from what happened in the the 3rd or 4th game of the year is, we just drove down the field, didn't get the field goal, but we have to make sure we stay on track on offense and not start reaching early and just stay on track. And I thought that's what our offensive staff did really, really well. And our defense staff just brought the kids out and went, look, we're everywhere we need to be. And then I think our kids were able to settle in, as we'll probably talk about, in terms of that speed and how he was a little bit different.
Yep, for sure. So you get the ball back, again, move the ball effectively. You stall out at the 29. And then defense makes a stop on the next series, and then you go on a 14-play, 86-yard drive, capped off by a 12-yard TD run by Savion Hart and the extra point by Declan. You had to feel pretty good about where you were at that stage of the game.
Yeah, there's 2 things we felt good about. One, again, defensively, we were keeping the ball in front of us with a really dangerous kid. But offensively, when you looked at time of possession and you looked at the actual yards we were eating up, we knew that we matched up with this team now. I think everyone believed, okay, this is a game that we can win. Where we were deficient, where we hadn't been throughout the year, was in what we call the blue zone. It's not the red zone, it's the blue zone. That's where we want to be at our best. So that was the difference at that point, is saying, okay, how are we going to get better in a segment of the field in which we don't have as much space to operate? And that's usually been where we've been very strong. And that's where at least they did their job early in the game.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So of course a team like Chan, super explosive. You can't take any plays off. And on a 3rd down and 10, Max Woods goes on a 68-yard run to the 12-yard line. I think the play that I really want to talk about, though, is the play that Avery Buckner made.
Yeah.
Kind of out of position, but hunts him down and makes the tackle at the 12. For sure, saved a touchdown at that stage. They go on to score a few plays later, but he gave the team an opportunity to make a stop. That if he just kind of goes, he's in the end zone. They're for sure scoring. So.
I think there's 2 things that happen from that. One is just who we are. We're going to run. And you saw this clip with Todd Rogalski the week before, and you saw it with Avery Buckner earlier in the year. It's how we practice on offense. And I don't have to repeat, or on defense, I don't have to repeat how we do it. Right. Our kids have to run to the ball on every play. But I think there's another thing that came of that. There's just something when you're watching that game and you go, well, there goes Max Woods again. This game is over. Right. And you see a defensive player from STA track him down and make them tee it up. That is not what they were used to.
No,
and at that point, I think everyone in that stadium went, okay, this is different now. Like usually when he hits that, it's gone and it's over. And I think making them tee it up again, and a lot of people forget about this, but we got to the point, and our emphasis is always like, don't allow them to run the ball in from 1 and 2 yards out. We're going to do everything we can personnel-wise and front-wise to force them to throw the ball. And what happened in that segment was the one in which he got kind of hung up on the one, and he flipped around and put the ball in the end zone. And I'm telling you, from a fan perspective, I'm going, my first thought was, it's definitely a touchdown. I thought when he swung the ball backwards, he's in. But I also said as a fan, like, if it's not a touchdown, then it's a fumble.
Right.
So what was interesting to me when they replayed it is they went with neither one of those. They said down by contact. And again, this isn't I didn't see the replay that the officials saw, and I trust in what they decided.
For sure.
But I remember as a fan, I'm going, then I instantly flash back as a coach and go, we wouldn't have even had this situation if it wasn't for our team just running and Avery given the effort that we did. And there was a little bit of a win in that, believe it or not. I think our kids went, okay, he's explosive and he does a lot of things, but we are going to find a way to make them tee it up again. And that's how this game is going to go the rest of the game. And that's how it went the rest of the game.
Yep, for sure. So you go into the half 14-7. What was the mood like in the locker room?
Yeah, so it's interesting when you're at the bank, half of our coaches don't come down. They just stay up in the box because you only have 12 minutes. And to navigate that, so what we do is we talk right away as a staff and we say, this is where we think we're at. I remember looking at the guys that were on the field and said, defense, I thought you played a phenomenal half. I thought we played one of our best halves. Now, part of the reason we played a best half is I think at the time we had only been on the field, it was something ridiculous, like 20 plays as a defense, because our offense had completely controlled the game. So I'm looking at the defense going, we played the type of half we needed to with the segment that we had. In the two big plays that he had, one, we were absolutely where we needed to be and didn't finish. And the other one, we did. We got all called on that one play. But we can deal with that. You're looking at the scoreboard and going, you're going against Chan, who just ripped off 54 against Andover, and going, they got 14 points at half. Feel great about it. Offensively, we're going, we're doing everything we want to do, but now we need to be able to finish some of these drives. So I felt really good about it. On the other side of it, I'm going, we played that well on offense, we played that well on defense, and we're still down 7.
Yeah.
So part of me, and what we'll lead into is how we opened the half, was we didn't have the opportunity to fake the field goal, which I thought could get us an extra possession in a way or a score. And at that point, I went to the whole locker room and I said, this is what we're doing. Defense, I want you to clearly understand that we're running an onside kick, what we call a possession kick, to open the second half.
Right.
If we get it, it's great. And if we don't get it, it's not a big deal. Okay? Right. Offense, we're going to do this. We had everyone on board to understand that whether we get it or not, we can't be here and we can't be here. It's just going to be another play in the game. Sure. And we didn't get it. But I thought at the time it was what we were going to need to steal an extra possession to, again, keep it out of their offense's hands, specifically Woods. And the other reason was he was distinctly different in the game in the first quarter than he was the second quarter. And we saw this on film throughout the year because of everything he had to do, defense, and then you got him over there running kick return. So we knew that Maxwell Woods in the first quarter and the third quarter was different. And if you look at his second quarter performance and his fourth quarter, in which he put the ball on the ground a couple times, it played out the same way it showed throughout the season. So us stealing a possession to open the third quarter, we thought we were willing to take that risk.
Yeah, for sure. So and actually it was a pretty good onside kick.
It was a great onside kick,
and they just happened to move right into position. I don't know if it was luck or if they had saw something in the way everybody lined up, but they were right where they needed to be.
No, part of it was we had pegged them for returning to their sideline. And where we were kicking off, they ended up returning to our sideline. So we knew that the center would not be the fix. We thought the guy that recovered it would be going the other way. And that's what it was. So in the end, you're going, we knew we were going to get the movement we want. It just happened that the movement went in the wrong direction.
Got it.
And so it's one of those deals where you go, we planned it. We thought it was going to be good. And even if they were going the different direction, he was just really alert and was ready.
Yeah,
and I didn't figure that was going to happen. When you see jersey number 62 out there, you're going, he's not a guy that's going to be able to field the ball. We like the matchup. Just, hey, it's a play that they made that we didn't.
Yep, for sure. So 5 plays later, Woods scores again from the 10. You're down 21-7. Was that? Was there any kind of, again, we'll use the word deflating, was there a deflating effect to that, or was it just kind of, hey, that's the risk we took, and now let's get back to business?
Well, I'll say this, and I remember there's this famous coach that took over this program in Arkansas, and they had been a doormat for years, and he went there and he told this community, listen, we're never going to punt, and we're gonna kick onsides every time we score. That was the philosophy. Oh, yeah. So part of me talking to our whole group at halftime and saying, this is going to come. If we get it, we're not here. If we don't get it here, you have to set the expectation for good or bad. This is what we do.
For sure.
So part of, I think, our response was setting it up. We get the possession kicker, not great. And that's why I felt like our response, what it was. Coach prepped us for this. If we don't get it, they're going to be on a short field. If we don't hold them, we don't hold them. We're going to come back. We're going to respond. So I'm hoping that was part of it.
Good life lesson too. Right?
Absolutely.
You take a risk, and it's again how you respond to what you're given. So you go on another long drive after that. Another great 13 play, 86 yards, capped off with a 2-yard TD pass from Max Sims to Luke Dobbs. But the highlight of that drive in my mind was the 34-yard reception by Chase Young that really set up the TD. Chase has been awesome down the stretch here.
Yeah, Chase really, in my mind, became Max's safety net.
Yeah.
And when your safety net is hauling in 3 to 4 catches a game for 80 to 100 yards in the biggest games of the year, it's more than a safety net. I mean, really, it's a really good receiving option. And what you saw with Chase is a lot of times, not all the time, he would catch it in open areas. He made some really competitive contested catches. But he also then has the ability of, as a tight end, because he's just a good athlete, to then catch the ball and transition upfield. And you can't just throw to Luke. Now, we did just throw to Luke a lot this year, and I think he ended up with whatever it was, 49 receptions. But when I think about offensive football, when our staff thinks about offensive football, one thing we wanted to bring back in, and Wing T does that, is distribution. I want it to look more like a basketball game. We're moving the ball around to different areas of the court. Our center can score, our point guard can distribute, but he can also score, and vice versa. And I'm hoping that's what we took away from it. Nico has 40 carries. Ari has 50 carries. Seiya has a ton. Max can throw and run. You've got Chase. That is what our belief in offensive football was, and I think we just had a lot of kids respond to that philosophy.
There's that word again, respond.
Yeah.
All right, so you're 21-14 at this stage, and it becomes a bit of a defensive game at this point, because neither team scores for about 12 minutes. I mean, that's a full quarter, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think led to that? What was the kind of, how did that occur?
I think both coaches at some point look at the scoreboard and, okay, now we're, what was it,
21-14.
21-14, you're looking at the scoreboard and we're deep into the third. This is what this game is.
Right.
So now offensively, maybe at times you start going, if you're winning the game, you're going, well, why are we taking chances right now? We're through 3 quarters, they've only scored 14. Maybe we feel like we can get a little bit more conservative in our play calling. Now, on the other end of it, they did try to throw a couple times, and it was about that 3rd and 4th quarter in which our DBs made 2 or 3 really good plays at the point of attack. And that's when Avon Dorville started popping up, and you're going, okay, not only is he destructing double teams, he is tackling the best player in the state in the backfield. And I think you got this sense of this is really turning into a dogfight, and I don't think there's going to be a lot more scoring. So that was my perspective on it from their side of it, is I think they were just like, we feel good about where we're at right now until they can make a push and change this thing.
Interesting. So early in the 4th quarter, the defense comes up with a key stop. You referenced it already. Avon Dorville blows up 2 plays in a row, which kind of led to a 3rd and 10 where they overthrow the receiver. How important has Avon been kind of in this last several weeks?
Well, I say all the time, it's one thing to go, Avon, your job all game is to take on 2 blocks. Mm-hmm. And it does more than one thing for us. If he's taking on 2, it usually means then the guys outside of him, specifically Patty and Teddy, are taking on 1. That's a win for us.
For sure.
The other thing it does is it delays the amount of time in which one of our inside linebackers has to take on a block because he's holding up 2 guys. Right. That's why I go, well, it's one thing to say that is your job and take great pride in it and do it over and over again 60 times. Right. It's another thing to say, he's distracting and he's taking care of both of those guys, and then he has got the ability to be able to finish on a back in the backfield one-on-one. It's just it's a luxury, and it takes a lot of time and effort and patience and everything that goes into it. understanding what your role is, and then on top of it to be a playmaker. A lot of times you go, that's your role, that's all you need to do. We're not expecting playmaking ability, but he has he's shown to be able to do that.
Yeah, last
at a really pivotal point in that game. I think at that point everyone's going, wow, this defensive line has taken over now. Like, we're starting to wear them down.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So that leads to a 12-play, 58-yard drive, capped off with a 6-yard TD by Savion, where essentially he's stopped. There's 4 guys in front, 5-yard line, and yet he, with a little help from his lineman, kind of willed his way into the end zone.
Yeah, you were fortunate enough the other day to be able to sit in on our film, and you've got to be able to take film, and I know people that weren't in that room won't completely understand this, but you've got to be able to take film at times and go, guys, this is life, okay? And what we basically showed the guys is there are 5 guys standing in front of Savion, and earlier in the drive, he gets hit 2 yards, clearly 2 yards behind the play, and he just wills himself by flipping himself. I don't know how he did it to get it. And then you're going, okay, now he's staring. I mean, literally, we paused it. There are 4 guys to 5 guys just staring at him. He's at the 5-yard line, and there's a goal line. And I think I said to the kids, I'm like, this is what's going to happen someday in your life. You're going to have people telling you there is no way you're going to be able to figure this out and get it done. And you're just going to have to go and trust it. And he went and trusted it. And let's just say, he builds himself all week to be ready for that moment. And there's this steady climb. And let's say he does it all season. Like, it started last summer. But he knows at some point he's going to be asked by this team to go, we need you to beat 4 guys. And he did the first part of it. He got down to the 1-yard line, and then his buddies came to help. And it's just, if you can't teach and learn football that way, and help kids understand that it's more than just football, then I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. If they can't see that on a film and how this is going to carry on. And I'll tell you, every coach will tell you, I think if you're a good one, that somewhere along the line, 4 or 5, I've been doing this 25 years now, you get a letter 6 years later, Coach, do you remember what you said or what you did? No, I don't. But Coach, I remember that time you did this. And that's what's going to play out in some of this film that we do. And they're going to go, I remember that going up on the screen, and it resonated. And you know what? I'm 7 years in, and I just got through college, or I got married, and I'm running into those 4 guys right now. I'm like, how am I going to get over the top of it? So it's a big part of why we do what we do.
Right. Well, it's a good life lesson. You to go for it, but then also rely on the help of your friends.
Yep.
It's pretty fun. So you go for the 2. Max's pass attempt to Luke Dobbs falls incomplete. What was there? You were down by 1, obviously going for the win. How confident were you that you could not only get a stop but also get the ball back if you missed the 2-point conversion?
Well, again, our defense was playing well, and I think it was compounded by the fact that they were going, we got the lead, and they got into a little bit of a rut of being different. But going for 2, and I think it's important for everyone to understand, we don't decide after the touchdown that we're going for 2. We decide before the drive starts, or somewhere in that drive, that we're going for 2, because I don't want to say to a coordinator, great job driving the field, we just scored, everyone's going crazy, and oh, by the way, let's go for 2 now.
Come up with a big play.
Luke, in this case, knew clearly before that drive started or just after that if we score on this drive, we are going for 2. So let's let that play into a couple things. If there's an important 3rd down and 2 on that drive, don't use the 2-point play because we've got 4 of them. Don't use that one to get the 1st down. Use a different one. So have clearly in your mind what we're going to do. And the other thing is, it's just good for the kids to know. Yep. As we're going down the field, we're not going down the field to tie it. We're going down the field to win it. Yep. And it didn't work out that way. But on the other side of it, you go, we still have 2 timeouts left. We felt like our defense was really starting to take over the game. Yep. And that was why. And the other side of it is just we had belief that our offense would execute it with how we worked the 2-point plays that week.
For sure. So you knew Chan wasn't going to go away quietly, though. I mean, they weren't just going to roll over and let let you get the ball back and score. So they get the ball. They start on their own 7. Now this is kind of an interesting play. You kick it long. Max Woods has to go back and get it, and then he downs it at the 7. Not a soul near him.
Yeah.
What do you think went into that? What was part of that decision on their part to do that?
So it's 2 things. One, we lined up to kick the onside. So we had Declan lined up where it looks like he's going to kick your traditional onside. So part of it was our alignment forced them to come up and defend the onside. In the process of doing that, what we would tell our guys, and I'm assuming they tell their guys the same, is they're telling their deep guy, your job, if you get the ball, if it is kick deep, which they didn't think it was, and we were originally going to kick the onside, but when they moved up, we're like, all right, we still have 2 timeouts in 4 minutes. Our defense is playing well. So we just adjust Declan. He kicks it deep. Max has been told at one point, like, hey, everyone has been told, if you get the ball, just get down.
Right.
So I think in his mind, he had that rolling. As the ball's kicked, he gets he's going, okay. What we would tell our guys is, if you're deep, it's kick deep. Field the ball, get upfield, but then get down before contact, because at that point you have no return called. You have the front in there, the 10 guys up front, to just get an onside. You don't then go, oh, by the way, if they don't kick an onside, let's have a return set up. It's too bulky. And you work on that play to happen twice a year. You might field an onside, or twice a year you might have to kick an onside. So it can only be so bulky. So I don't put a lot of fault on Max. I think he was just doing what they told, and then all of a sudden situation changes.
Right. Yep. For sure. So they get the ball on the 7, and they go 93 yards in 6 plays. The final play of that drive was a 62-yard TD run, reverse pitch, and then they get the extra point. They're up 28-20 with exactly 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. If you remember the first 3 plays, they were struggling. And we just had a hold on them. There's certain things you have to be able to tell your defense, guys. If they're going to beat you on a reverse, did I want us to play the reverse better? Did we have one defender that had that responsibility? Yeah. But that defender also throughout the games made some plays in not defending the reverse that we're all going, yay, good job, right? No, they're up there looking too, and at some point you go, there's a time and place to do it. Would I have felt differently if they just ran the same draw play and gashed just to get the first down or the touchdown? Yes. They went out of their way to do something that's not in their base, to go, this is what we have to do at this moment to beat this team. At some point, I want to be there on the contain. We weren't. You got to clap your hand and go, or just, hey, it was a really nice call. What we also stumbled into, and I would love to take full credit for this, but I can't. We have a call in our system that tells our defense at a certain point in the game, if a team gets a first down on a run, let them go all the way, because the game would have been over at that point, or it would have been really close to over. So it really became a blessing that we didn't tackle and he made a phenomenal run and scores a touchdown. And you could only do that call even if we wanted to. I should have had it in. I did not. We should have told our defense on that play, it's 4th and whatever, or 3rd and whatever. If they get a run that crosses the first down, at that point, dive, make it look like you're tackling, and let them go all the way, because then even if they get the extra point, they'd only been down 8. I'll tell this community right now, if we were in that same situation the other night and we went up 7, we would have went for 2 to try to end the game and go up 9. And everyone's going to go, but then what if they go down the field and go for 2 and beat you? That's fine. But at 2-minute mark, I'm going, we now put ourselves in a situation, we're up 9, that's 2 scores. The likelihood of them getting 2 possessions, it wouldn't have happened with 2 timeouts. So this is a setup. I'm saying, I know it's not what maybe everyone has always done, but if we're in their situation, if we were better coached, I would have said Ole. If we were better coached, we would have handled the reverse. 1. 2, if we were better coached, once they got the first down, we would have just let them score. And then thankfully they took the 1 point, went up by 8, which most people would. I get that. We would not have. We would have went for 2 and tried to end it right there and said, we've got a 2-score lead. So there's a lot of stuff. I'm diving deep, but it's just, I want everyone to know, like, that's how deep we think about this stuff.
Right. Well, and I think the flip side, and again, this gets back to, situational and game awareness, is had their coach been on top of his game, they would have said, you get the first down and you go down.
Yeah.
Right? You take a knee to eat up more clock.
Hey,
right?
there's other coaches now, and I don't want to say that their coach wasn't on. There's other coaches that will go, you give us the touchdown, we'll take it. We're up 8. We're kicking off. We got our defense. You got to go 2 minutes. Yeah. So I don't want to make it sound like he wasn't and I wasn't. Yeah. These are all the things that you talk through in an off season that most of the fan base is going to go, never even thought about it.
Right. Well, and it's
these are all
in real
the things.
time too,
yes.
right?
Yes.
We've got the luxury to be able to talk about it now.
Yep.
That's happening. Right, just like that. So and so, wasn't making a shot at the other coach. But, but again, those are the things that he'll probably be thinking about.
No doubt about it. Is if you're doing it well, you go back and you critique your season and said, let's make sure next time. Right. And their philosophy again might be score. Yeah. Our philosophy would be, if we get the first down, get down, kneel on it 4 times, game is over.
Game is over. Yep, exactly. So you get the ball. You got 2 minutes left. 8 plays later, in exactly a minute 11, Max Sims hits Chase Young for a TD, another great throw and catch. Obviously, you need to go for 2 to get the tie. Savian gets the job done, beats 2 pretty good Chad defenders to the pylon. Game tied 28-28. And I just want to call it one thing in there. He beats the 2 guys, but also his line does his job to keep more guys from being there. And then Luke Dobbs probably made the block of the game by keeping Max Woods from pursuing Savion into the pylon.
Yeah,
and so it's a huge deal.
It is. Well, Luke got really good at. I'm not going to call Luke a dominating blocker. He's a good blocker. Luke understands timing. Luke understands I can run this guy off for a while because he's one-on-one or he's man on me, and then I can block him when I need to. And we always talk about our blockers. We want you to block the least amount of time. Yeah. The longer you block, the higher the likelihood is that something could go wrong. So what he figures out, and he was really crafty at, I would call Luke a crafty blocker. He understood when I needed to block. Mm-hmm. The other thing with that 2-minute drive I think is important is, I reflect earlier in the game where we had run a play in which it was 3rd and 33 to start out. Mm-hmm. And then it became 4th and 18. Yeah. And we had run a play which we call shake, which got the ball to Luke Dobbs, and he made a big-time catch, and it was an awesome throw right between 5 guys. Well, later in this 2-minute drive, you can't just keep going back to put Luke in the same spot against the same defender. It doesn't work. So we ended up, Michael Stofseth went in there and made another huge catch on the same play to keep the drive going. And if there was one thing I was proud throughout the game, we had a tendency of being a heavy first down run team, and Coach Marks and our offensive staff did a really good job. I think not only in that last drive when we had to throw, but throughout the game did a really good job of identifying they are run stunting to try to stop us on first down, and they still got us. But we ended up, I think, having 6 first downs on first down throws. Which is something that I think could be a tremendous growth opportunity. But going to how we finished that thing, we had a 2-point play opportunity, and we had a play called. Yeah. And Coach Abbott comes up to me in the madness after we scored. And this one was not, Luke knew we were going for 2 to tie it. Everyone did. Yeah. This was not as planned. We knew what the 2-point play was going down the field, and Coach Abbott comes up, and I don't know if they reviewed the play or what happened. We had a little bit of time. And he said, hey, the O-line wants Say to carry the ball, which was not the call. And at some point, you have to be able, in your coaching world, to go, they've earned this. When they've asked for stuff in the past, in this type of ask, not 4th and 8, but 4th and 2, they have come through. And gosh darn it, we're going to go down there, and we're going to tell the O-line, if you want Say to have the ball, we are running the ball. And proud that our kids feel comfortable enough to ask. Sure. Really proud that Coach Abbott walked down and talked to me on the phones and said, what do you think? And I'm happy that they earned that trust with me and our staff to be able to say, yes, this is, you guys are right. Let's go with our best player, and let's go behind what we've done all year.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun to see the growth in the kids to be able to, again, kind of advocate for them, not only for themselves but for their teammate, right? Because they want him to. They know he's the guy who can get it done. Right?
It's not just that, it's something that I think is also important is being player-led is important. And you can't say as a coach, well, we want you to lead and never give them an opportunity to make the call.
Right.
And we did that a lot in our pass game towards the end of the year. Again, this is not something we just do and go, well, next year with our new quarterback and our new receiver, you just get to do what Max and Maximus and Luke did.
Right.
If you prove to us that you can make the right decision when we're giving you that, we're going to give it to you. And so it started showing up as we ended the year, like how good we can be when our kids can give us the input and we can trust what they're telling us. And that is them doing it over and over and over again and giving us good input.
Yep.
And, Coach, I'm going to do it, being able to do it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yep. For sure. So we go to overtime. Chan wins the coin toss and elects to defend. We struggle a little bit. Get I think a procedure penalty, and so we end up settling for a field goal to take the lead. With the ball in the 12, was there ever any thought to actually just go for it and get the TD?
No, not at all. If we were in a legit run pass situation where, let's say, the ball's in the 2 or 3 yard line, and they would legitimately think, hey, we just ran a 2-point conversion, we could get play action reasonably, right, the answer would have then been yes. But at the 12 yard line, they're going to sink their guys back. They know we're passing the ball. And
for sure.
And I think on the play before that, actually, they already were kind of there. And we had a ball that probably should have been intercepted, and it wasn't. So that also fed into the fact going, let's take the 3, gutty kick, gutty performance by a PRT field goal.
You still got to make the field goal. It's not a guarantee, right?
He didn't just make it. I mean, he made it as good as you could make it, and that was important. I think the other thing that's important here is when we went to Chaska in the overtime game, and the way that game had played out, our defense had struggled, our offense really was clutching that game. So we went into that overtime going, if we won the toss, which we did, we're going to go on offense first. Because I really felt at that point, we're going to score, we're going to take the extra point, and let's put our defense in a situation, which we did, let's put our defense in a situation where they're up, and they can risk a little bit more. The other night, we were different. If we were going to win that toss, we were going to put our defense on the field because they were playing really, really well. And I felt like our offense was going to be able to score no matter what. Right. But let's figure out, let our offense determine how this thing goes, but put our defense out there because they were really the tone setters, I thought, outside of the 2-minute drive in the second half. So we lose the toss. They opt to put us on offense first, which is what we would have done. And yeah, we struggled. The first play gets us down to the 3 or 4 yard line. Yep. We're like, this is exactly what it is. Right. And then we had the 5 yard procedure penalty, and that took us out of it.
Yeah.
So
yep, for sure. So Chan takes over, at the 10. Interestingly, in 3 plays, Max Woods puts the ball on the carpet 2 times. In the team meeting on Monday, you had mentioned that football's a game of inches, and when you review that film, you just realize how close we came. One of those 2 we recover, and game over. St. Thomas State champs. How do you get through that? How do the boys? We saw it on Monday, but as a coach, how do you deal with that?
Well, I'll tell you, as we were showing it on Monday, some kids even said, like, I haven't watched that play yet. I don't even want to watch that play. And, okay, where my heart would sink is if we didn't have 11 guys running to the football, that would be different.
Right.
That ball hits the ground, and we had 3 or 4 guys ready to pounce, and they had a guy in the backfield that probably shouldn't have been there that made a really good play. But you know what? I can handle that when I know that our guys are doing what they were supposed to do. Right. I will also say that as I thought about the sequence of them getting the ball, the first thing they did is they put Maxwell Woods in the shotgun, and they went to Wildcat. It was the same thing that Chaska did against us most of the game that we didn't handle well. So I thought a really good job on their side of it going, this isn't how we're going to attack you throughout the game, but if we get into a situation, we've got it in our back pocket. So instantly, I'm saying, okay, this is Chaska all over again. They're direct snapping, and we had talked about this earlier this year. It's no longer 2 tight ends and 2 backs. It's 2 tight ends, 2 backs with a quarterback also being able to block in a different situation. It's a completely different thing. Right. So we get through play 1, and everyone goes, oh, what's the big deal? You're just running your offense, but you're direct snapping. Part of that fumble, I'm telling you, is him doing something that he hasn't done a lot of this year.
Right.
That it all plays into it.
Yep.
So he ends up going up, he fumbles it, ball's on the ground. At that point, we take a timeout. And we didn't take it right away. We wanted to see if they were coming back to it. They were. Yeah. We take the timeout for this reason. Our defensive staff needs time to figure out that we weren't planning for this. I didn't want to use the timeout then, but I felt like it was pivotal to put our guys and get our best personnel in the game. We take the timeout, we get our best personnel in the game. He comes back. I think at that point, on the 3rd play then, he fumbles again. And I don't think that's nerves for a kid like that. I just think he got out of rhythm because they asked him to do something he had never done. Yeah. And again, you watch both of those as a coach and you go, what if? But hey, the bottom line is,
crazy if you keep doing that though.
There were either 7 or 8 balls on the ground the other night that were not recovered. Neither team had a turnover.
Wow. I guess I didn't.
There were 7 or 8 balls in the ground. Yeah. Some of them were reversed. Some of them were on replay. But there's 7, 8 balls of which we had 4 and they had 4. We go, neither defense got that. And that's, I don't know if I've ever been in a game where that's ever happened. Yep. Because usually the defense is in a position where they see the ball and they're running to it and the offense is blocking, right? So it was a weird night when it came to that.
Yep, for sure. So as we know, Chan on 4th down throws a pass for a touchdown. Chanhassen 34, STA 31. A great game as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
A ton of fun to watch. I think the boys, the thing I got out of it was I think the boys proved that they belonged there. And there might have been some naysayers out there prior to that. Mankato West being one of them, certainly Andover. But I think you proved that not only did you belong, but that you would have been equally deserving.
Yeah.
Had the outcome been in our favor.
We said this 2 weeks ago. Everyone wanted to point to the Andover game with us, which was the first game of the year, and they go, well, ST is not going to be. We just watched Chan beat Andover the week before, and everyone wanted to point to that game and say, well, STA got taken apart by Andover, which we did. Yep. Okay. And I'm sitting there telling our kids in the locker room, that's great. Everyone can point to that game. Well, then you also got to be able to point to the Matamidi game, in which we handled Mott this year. We played really well in that game. We matched up and we played well against Mott. And 2 weeks earlier, you watch Mott take Chan.
Almost beat
Chan to the wire. Chan has to go 80 yards in less than 2.5 minutes to win that game. So the whole comparative score thing, I think if you're doing it, 1 week apart, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but when you start pulling games all over the place,
yep.
Hey, and I think I've been consistent in saying this from the start. Our goal this year and our goal every year here is going to be, when you look at us from week 1, we want to be better in week 1 than we were this year, right? Yeah. And I think we will be moving forward. I'm already thinking about our whole team knows our terminology now walking into our off season. Yep. We're going to be better, right?
Yep.
But clearly we want to do 2 things. We want to get better from week 1 until we're done. We want to play our best football at the end of the year, not at the beginning or the middle. Right. And we wanted to be really healthy, and we had a belief system that said if we practice in a certain manner, there are going to be some liabilities to that, but man, when we walk on the field in the biggest of moments, our guys are going to be there ready to play. And those 3 things in this year, I am confident in saying feel really good about, happened. Can't say that it's going to happen every year. There's going to be a year where we get 3 guys that get direct contact injuries, and it doesn't matter how you practice. It just... But it played out the way that we thought it would. We wanted to be 1, 2, 3 plays better and have that trophy at our place, right?
Yep, for sure. So I don't want to focus in on just individuals, because this was a team effort. Clearly, your line played well, your receivers played well, but there are some pretty good stats that came out of this that I just want to make sure we talk about. So Maximus was very efficient, 19 of 31, 239 yards and 2 TDs. You know, he impressed me. He really, just the last 6-7 weeks, you know, maybe the game before Chaska, and then in the Chaska game and all the way through, he just really, he took it to a different level.
There's no doubt, and you know, it's him, it's Coach Marks, it's the offensive crew that started to understand his growth and what he's able to do. And Maximus would have loved for this to happen earlier. We just weren't there as a team yet.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
But you're going to see this throughout the years. Like, your identity will start peaking out week 5, week 6, and you have to be good enough as a staff at that point to capture it and go, it's not who we thought we were going to be, but man, that's who we are.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. And, you know, I don't know what it was. I think I said 2 weeks ago, he was somewhere in the last 5 weeks of throwing over 70%, and his QB rating is through the roof, and he did the same thing the other night. I don't know how you can't watch that game and the way that he threw and moved in the pocket with his eyes up and not be able to say that is one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the state. I
agree.
Mankato's getting a good one.
Yep, for sure. And of course, his favorite target, Luke Dobbs, 11 catches, 140 yards, and 1 TD. And I don't want to leave out Chase Young. He had 2 catches, 40 yards, but they were 2 huge. Obviously, one was a touchdown, and the other one set up a touchdown. So those were huge. And then, of course, you know, Savion Hart, 37 carries, 226 yards, 2 TDs. You mentioned it in the meeting on Monday. He was a warrior out there.
Yeah, it's just it's who he is. I said this earlier. You see this slow build. Like, I'd never want to put a back in a situation where he has to carry it 37 times. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen when we don't have another game to play. Right. And he has this slow build throughout the week. When you take 20, 25, it's tough to come back. And he had this slow build, but you know, on that stage, this is what he and all of our guys, you spend your off seasons dreaming about. Like, can we get this opportunity to do this in the biggest stage? And he didn't disappoint, and we knew he would not.
Yeah, and he put it all out there. I mean, you could tell there were a couple times when he got up slow, but just kept coming back.
Hey, in a different way.
You don't teach that.
No, you don't. And in a different way, we showed some clips the other day. You're watching 5 of our defensive guys just run into the pile, and they're just all bouncing different ways. I mean, they just sold out. They left everything. And, you know, when you watch guys catch balls like Luke Dobbs, it's easy to go, well, you know, that was right at him. He should catch it. Going into the ring of fire of 5 dudes wanting to hit you, I mean, you saw some of those clips. Like, he is going into a zone where people don't want to go, and Max is putting it on him. I mean, it's just toughness. And it takes a lot of mental toughness to go, I'm doing that right now, and being able to finish it over and over and over again.
Well, and I think, you can, as you pointed out with your defense, I think everybody kind of did that throughout the game, and certainly the run up to that game. So you finish the season 10-3, runners up in Class 5A. Give us your thoughts on the season as a whole, and then your first year as a head coach.
Yeah, I think, you know, initially I walk in here and I'm looking at it and I'm going, I feel like we got a lot of really good pieces. And this is just me reflecting on 25 years of recruiting, and not just recruiting, but everywhere, but recruiting the academy. And I'm hearing from other people, this is going to be, you know, this year isn't going to be quite what we had this group. And I'm watching the film and your defense last year was really good, and I knew we had to replace. But I can remember telling my dad early, I'm like, I feel like this team could be really, really good. And then week 1 happens, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm talking about, obviously, because that isn't the case. And we just built and we built and we built and we got better. And it's where we ended up, in my mind, is where I thought we really could be by the end. I really did. Wow. And it's happy to be able to see that through. It doesn't work out that way every year. I can tell you. We had teams when I was at the University of St. Thomas, and you're going, we've got everything we need. There's no doubt that we're in the playoffs, and we don't even get to the playoffs. So it doesn't always happen that way. But in year 1, to have all those things hit the way they did, I'm really proud of. But year 2 is a different thing, right? It's just going to be a completely different thing, and it's a new team. It's going to be new staff in ways. We're not going to have all our kids back. We're not going to have all our staff back. But just really proud, and just a thank you to the community for staying with us and believing in us, you know, and the support you walk in after a loss and some people look at you differently and other people come right up and be like, hang in there. And I need that. I know our kids need that, but I'm telling you, I need that. And, you know, instantly you realize that there's a core group of people in this community that believes in the greater good of football and understands what this whole thing is all about. And we're going to have these special years like this when you do it the right way.
Yeah. Well, and I told you before we sat down to record, you know, that you know, you're carrying on the messaging of life lessons. This isn't just about football. Yes, yes, we would have loved to have had a state championship, but if you would have won a state championship and not teaching any of those lessons, I'd be disappointed in that effort. Right. So I think you're doing it the right way, and I applaud yours and your staff effort to do so. Coach, it was a lot of fun watching this team grow throughout the year. And it was a lot of fun being able to recap it every week, and I look forward to continuing.
You're really good at what you do, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well. So we'll put a wrap on the 2023 season. Coach and I have a few plans to do some additional shows between now and next season, so stay tuned for those. Until then, thanks for watching. Merry Christmas, and go Cadets.